That's Adam Mann asking the timeless question, "What do you wear in bed?" For which he answers it in the song "Playboy" off his Strip record. I've been listening recently to a lot of records that I never had a chance to really listen to or buy back when they came out in the 80s and 90s. And I think this Adam Ant guy is incredibly intelligent, incredibly talented, and the whole thing that people have to go through when they're chart making musicians is basically a big, silly, stupid game. They get dropped by their labels if they don't rate uh, with high charting. Whether the record is really good or not, it's all about if it charts. Um, there's another band that I'm listening called T'Pau. And these guys I really knew nothing about the band except their hit single. And point point in question, they had a song out that did absolutely nothing when it was released. Then they put it on a jeans commercial, and the whole thing just blew apart for them. They were rocketed to the top of the charts, and it just goes to show the silly games that these poor musicians have to play in order to achieve what the outside public tells them is their own success, which I think is a bunch of nonsense. It's a big stupid social game, this whole chart thing, and yet it's it's what it's what existed for 100 years when they began radio um, and records and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, welcome to the Closet Collection for March 21st, 2021. Did you ever think we'd see the year 2021? Um, Me, I'm still stuck in the 70s and 80s, so I wouldn't know. So we have some new stuff for sale from this Closet collection, and as people who have tuned into this program before know, I have engaged in literally hundreds of experimental pieces that that I use to this is called honing my craft. There are so many things to explore, so many things to try, and I like to use these experimental pieces as exactly that, experimental pieces. And getting to that very thing, here are one of the things that I've done on here. This is on Strathmore 400 series paper. It's just gray paper, and you can see that there's different experimentations going on with pastel pencils, which I've always found very unsatisfactory for a good medium. They don't have much pigment in them. In fact, they have far less pigment than the lowest and cheapest brand of pastels out there, which are new pastels, which are made by Prismacolor. And these things just don't cut it. So this is an abomination of something that I learned um, the usual way through failing about a medium that really, I swear, 1 out of 100 times the results are something I'm okay with. So we've got this one for sale right here. Here's another bizarre experimental piece right here. Again, with the mediums that I tend to experiment most with are things that I normally have never used during my life or career, and that is it's always got an element of colored pencil to it. So we've got this one right here. I think the only reason this one works right here is because of the drawing. On the flip side, and there's almost always a flip side, you can see something that is not well drawn that has dubious results as a result. That was clever. So this is actually an actress named Kat Dannings. Of course, I call her Dick Dannings because I don't call cats cats. I call them dicks, as in good for nothing and worthless. here's another piece right here that you will definitely um, that will definitely amount to something you can study for the duration here. Um, these are more studies of precisely the same medium, usually involving colored pencil and different opacities of watercolor and or gouache, whatever. It's the same thing. It's the same damn thing to me. um, if you want to if you want to make a watercolor opaque, add white to it. That's what gouache is. So big deal, right? Here's a step by step of what I've tried to learn here. These are again copies from my good friend Drew Struzan, whom I have officially sanctioned the name Stru. On the back, there's more stuff here. Now, the funny thing about this medium here is you have the same mediums. You have the same brain, the same hand, same person doing them, and the results are so inconsistently bizarre that it makes me wonder if there isn't some eye of newt ingredient that I'm missing here that will lend me consistent results. After 3.5 years of experimentation, I have not found that. Now that really pisses me off. But such is life. That's the way it goes. For once, we have nothing on the back here of this watercolor paper. This is 300 Fabriano paper, which is probably my favorite watercolor paper. So, aside from this Polar Bear in a Snowstorm piece right here, which I consider a total success, we've got this Sargent study on the other side. Sargent really is the artist that everyone else of my my artistic preferences has kind of deemed the dean of everything we hold dear. It sounds like a Star Trek line. So there it is, right there. This is done in different opacities right here. I consider this one a success. Now, what is it that makes one piece a success and the others disasters, according to me, the harshest critic that there should be? I don't know. I don't know if it's waking up with the right kind of mindset, or I don't take drugs, I don't drink. How does that song go? I don't smoke, I don't drink. What do you do? I draw. That's what I do. I draw. I paint, and that's kind of my whole life. So, whenever you see these broadcasts from now on, you're not going to see a lot of variation in the backdrop here, unless I go green screen. It's always going to be me in this chair, surrounded by my equipment and the drawing board. And you can see that I'm about to start a new page right here. This, my friends, is the way they start out. They start out blank. I've actually drawn some of the lines in to kind of map out the panels. I'm going to be working on this page right here from the new Throne World series that I'm doing on my own with Nexus. It's actually page 20 right here that I'm going to be taking from my thumbnail stage, which has to be worked out before you even start drawing. There are so many things organized. There's so many things to cohesively join with storytelling, this full circle aspect of the science of storytelling, that without these thumbnails, I wouldn't have the capacity to do the kind of work that I do. So it all has to be figured out, much like Hitchcock doing storyboards before he actually films his movies. They're blueprints. They're shorthands. They're little sketches that tell us creative people that are doing the work where how things need to be orchestrated. In the case of a comic book artist, you are not only the conductor but the orchestra. You're playing every instrument, you're conducting everything that goes on. Everything is what's that word I'm always looking for? Well, it's not coming to me. So I don't like to use big words when I can use small ones. But this is what we do to make sure that we stay on track. And I can only do it by working on these thumbnails here, so that's what I do. Um, I think aside from that, I always want to make sure that I have some animation drawings in here. It's very important for me to make mention of the fact that I'm always working towards this goal of getting my animated Nexus show on the air. And it's been going, see, I started this whole thing back in the 80s, the late 80s. So that would have been 1988 when I moved to LA from Wisconsin, from Madison, Wisconsin. That's when I began this thing. And I've been working on it ever since. Now, you're probably asking, what is there to do for the next 30 years that you haven't done in the first 5? Well, you'd be surprised, folks. So here are some of the little drawings that I've done. These are all on 12 field standard animation paper. So there's a moving head of Horatio Hellpop Nexus that is probably attached to a body. Now, why I abandoned this one and I'm selling it, it's probably because I drew it a little too small. So I had to Xerox it up like 5 to 70% to make it the right scale. I don't use computers. I can't press the little button that says large, so I do it the old-fashioned way, and I paste these things in. Here's a marker rough of a Sunny Honey post, Sundra Peel, from Nexus. And I'm trying, the important thing about things like this is to get your gestures accurate. And if you think this is something that I consider to be a problem that I've licked, it's not even close. Those things aren't allowed in a mortal lifetime. You can get as close as you get through a lot of hard work and a lot of observation and a lot of practice. But this is people go to their graves still struggling with this right here. You get as far as you get. You've got, like I said, a lifetime to learn this, to make it a little easier. But it's not always like that. Sometimes you actually reverse course and go backwards in life. Why that is, I don't know. Does it make sense? No, it doesn't make any sense. But this is real life, and I try to have a very sober attitude towards reality rather than what I wish would happen that doesn't. So we've got this one right here. This is a piece that kind of goes with it right here. This is I just got tired of this drawing tight, so I just got the marker out and very loosely drew over the blue pencil gestural first try, just to see what it was looking like right here. The amazing thing about comic book artists, or at least artists in general, is that we spend our whole lifetime trying to learn the mannequin, the human mannequin, male, female, alien, whatever, animals, everything. We try to learn the basic shapes that when you put them together in the right way, you get a very natural looking, or in the case of comic books, natural and dynamic poses that make your work of interest. The same way it was of interest to you to see your favorite artists when you grew up doing these kind of things. I had plenty of great examples of that. Jack Kirby, of course, the greatest of all times. Paul Gulacy from Master of Kung Fu, and John Romita from Spider-Man. These guys were the very best. Here's another drawing right here. I'm not sure why this is in here, but I think one of the things that always was bizarre to me about animation art was they had to draw this stuff on a scale so small that I'm surprised that anyone maintained their eyesight after a week of working like this. This is one of the larger figures. So they're often called upon within this paper size, which they make even worse by having these borders that the TV cuts off at, to draw on a very, very small scale. And to make it accurate, well, I said the hell with that. And I just started drawing bigger. So I think this is a case of me taking this figure and drawing bigger so I could get a sense of, not going blind trying to do these figures right here. So I'm pretty sure that's why this one is in here. And the last one here, packaged and neatly labeled here by some of the girls that work for us here. Animation cell, blah, 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 blah. So that's how we, hey, Rude Dude is a highly organized place here, folks. We don't fool around here. So what's going on here? This is, I'm sure what this is a trace back of the body, which is how it works in planned animation. And just the arms move on Nexus, at least for a very brief time. You can see the penciled in drawing of his body and face and head. And in this case, only the arms are moving. So this is, you want to know what I've been spending 30 years on? Well, it's little subtleties like this. Now I'm actually on to trying to learn the art of animation. Folks, this takes a long time to assimilate. That's the word I'm looking for, assimilate. You can learn it through books, you can read about it, you can mimic the things that you're told to do in books, but unless you assimilate it into your head, it's not real. And that's when you become a teacher, because you know it inside out and backwards, upside down and inside out. So we're going to put these back in their little folder here. That's what we have for sale on today's edition of the Closet Collection. This is Steve Root. I will be signing off until next Sunday. From now on, these broadcasts are going to be coming to you on Sunday at noon, Pacific Standard Time, or in the case of Arizona where I live, Standard Mountain Time, something like that. Anyway, me and LA are in the same time zone now, okay? So it's noon here, it's noon over there in LA. Everywhere else, it's not, okay? So thanks for coming back. Let's get back to Adamant. I'm going to finish up my page, and we'll see you next week.